Hey everyone, Jason Sherman here. In today's episode of Zero to CEO, I'm going to talk to a successful entrepreneur and author, Anthony Nwaneri. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, man. Good to be here.
And today's episode is Unlocking Passive Income with AI-Assisted Books. Hot topic, man, because AI is just all over the place. I mean, with ChatGPT coming out, not, like a year ago, everyone is using it for lots of different things. I did see people talking about, writing books, publishing them, and then maybe people giving them some backlash, because they were saying it was their books. But it sounds like you're almost not doing that. You're saying that, no, these were AI written books, or is that not the case?
Yeah, great question. So yeah, I mean, the AI assisted books. So what that really means is we have the AI. Traditionally speaking, most self-publishers would either get a ghostwriter themselves to actually hire someone else to write the book, which is something that we've definitely explored doing with our own publishing company, and it saves you a ton of time. So that's a traditional route that some people tend to go down. The other route is, of course, authoring the book yourself, which means you have to write the outline, think about the concept, do the actual writing, produce the book, and then get a bunch of different people to help with the production of the product, whether that's marketing, writing the description of the book, or whether that's just simply, creating the cover art for the book, thinking about the title and subtitle. When it comes to AI-assisted book, it's really stripping down a lot of the longer processes. So when it comes to ideation of a book, when it comes to getting variations for a book title, when it comes to writing the description and having variations in different angles for the book titles, when it comes to the outline of the book, when it comes to the drafting, when it comes to the tonality. So there's really all these different components combined using AI in order to make the entire writing process, if you see its activation point, from ideation to actual creation and publishing, helping you fast track that entire process by tenfold. So that's really what I mean by AI assisted books.
Yeah, I mean, and we can go both sides of the fence here, right? We can talk about like everything you just said and how easier it gets by doing all this. And then we could talk about all the creative artists out there who are saying, yeah, but then, you're not really writing it. You're not really going through the process yourself. You're not really learning how to write a book. You're just having an AI help you do the outline, for example. I use AI every day. I have it in my apps. I've built it into my infrastructure for my platforms. I've been using it for blog posts, outlines, storyboarding. It's incredible to get feedback on like a screenplay or, a story that I've written to give you other, inspirational ideas. Maybe it's, I haven't thought of that, or this angle is better. What are your thoughts on the creative line that people are saying that's being crossed here in terms of like, well, it's not really you anymore. I mean, yeah, you're being assisted, but it's really an AI giving you all these ideas that you may not have had.
Yeah, that's a great question. And you know what? I think it just depends on what's the purpose and what's your purpose. Why did you get into it in the first place? If your goal is to be an artist and be a creative person and to be a writer, then by all means, don't use AI. But the people who are using AI, that's not their goal. That's not their purpose. That's not the reason why they're using it. So I think
why are they using it then? You said you're not using it for that reason. So what's the reasoning behind it then?
So the reason would be for a lot of people, it's to actually fast track that process. So for example, let's say you're a podcaster. We've had clients who have podcasts, right? Okay. They've got a wealth of content that's there for them, but they're also a busy business owner. They're a coach or a consultant, or they're running a multiple 6-figure, 7-figure, 8-figure sometimes business where they want to write a book, but the time, effort, energy, and the amount it costs to produce a book doesn't actually make sense. And when you have, let's say, 100, 300, 400, 500 plus podcast episodes, and you can use AI to gather that transcript and create an outline for a book and then create some of that book in your own words. Right. To them, that's something that's very attractive because there's much lower cost. It's much more efficient and you're getting the most out of the content you already produced. That's a completely different functionality of a book. It's to capture the value you've already created over a long period of time and present it in a digestible way for your audience. It's not necessarily about a creative process in this specific scenario.
Yeah, we're not talking about Anne Rice or Stephen King. We're talking about I got it now. Okay, so it's not the next vampire novel. Although AI can do that, right? AI can do that, right? AI, you can feed it a lot of information and it can really spit it out. So now that we've talked about what the kind of reasoning behind using the processes that you're talking about, and there's a lot of different pieces to that. You're saying it's expensive and difficult to make your own book. Now, there's a lot. I mean, the other thing I noticed, there's a lot of books out there. I mean, there's millions and millions and millions of books that come out every day. I've been approached for 20 years, companies who cold call, cold email, cold message me everywhere saying, hey, we want to help you write a best-selling book. Why do you want to, why do you want to help me write a best-selling book? You write it and go sell it yourself. Like, leave me alone, And so I don't understand why companies always approach me saying, like, let's help you sell no, they want my money, right? To help me write this book, and then I still have to market it. So where is that piece that's missing for a lot of people? I'm going to give you an example. Let's say there's 1 million people out there. They each have a podcast. They each want to write a book. They don't know how to do it. They don't have the time. And you come in and say, well, we're going to help you. What's the use case to get them to not only write the book, but then get it out there to sell it? Because that's the hard part.
Absolutely. I think there's a distinction that I think we should make, right? Because there's actually, if you think about publishing or authoring a book, there's different avatars. And I think this is what sometimes gets mixed up. Like, we live in a world now where everyone has their own idea of what a thing is. Mm-hmm. Like, for example, people kind of think, okay, well, a book is a creative process. No, to a certain type of person, a book is a creative process. To me, business is a creative process. I could go to another person that says, no, it's not. It's just about numbers and data. And then someone else is like, no, it's not. It's about people and humans. And then another person like, no, it's not. It's all about money. So a lot of the times it's like, there's different use cases for these things. So when it comes to kind of people who want to be an author, there could be someone who wants to be just a person who has the title of a bestseller, right? And there's ways to kind of like do that. And great, you've sold a couple copies. You sold a lot of copies over a short period of time, and you've got that tag. Awesome, amazing, great. They just want that for status. They want that because they can have it as a badge of honor, and it allows them to get into certain rooms as a credible source. There's the other person who wants it just because to them it's been a life's project to write a book. That's a different avatar. To them, they don't really care so much about necessarily how many sales it makes or if it impacts the entire world. It's just something they've always wanted to do.
They want to get it out of their head.
The particular avatar you're talking about is the person who wants to write a book and wants that book to impact thousands of people.
Right.
In terms of the missing link is really understanding, how do we package this book? Number one, to be something that a market actually wants and desires. The biggest mistake that I made in my journey during publishing was kind of like, my first ever book was about every podcaster's biggest hurdles. Now, I thought I was a genius. I thought I was solving the biggest problem because every podcaster has mental hurdles, anxiety, imposter syndrome, overthinking, procrastination, all these mental hurdles.
Right.
And I thought, wow, there is no book out there about the mental hurdles of being a podcaster for podcasters on Amazon. Therefore, this idea must be unique. It's new. It's amazing. I published the book. Me and my business partner were sitting there airtight, like little kids, our legs literally kicking up. And we open up our dashboards. We stare at the screen for 5 minutes, and it says 0.
Nobody was buying
5 minutes go by. I was like, no. I was like, Jason, this can't be happening. Impossible.
refresh.
I refreshed it a couple more times. Again, 0. Thankfully, we simultaneously launched a different book called Podcasting Made Simple, which solved one specific problem, helping new beginner podcasts launch a successful show and given a step-by-step process for that. That's what the market needed. Most people who are trying to publish and want to make impact are just going just strictly based off ideas in their minds. If they haven't got an audience to sell to, they're going straight off their minds and thinking that's what the market wants. Mm-hmm. You don't know what the market wants unless you have a way to validate that there's demand there. And that's honestly the biggest thing that messes up most people, is they have a good idea and think because it's a good idea, therefore everyone must want it.
Right. It could be an idea that you think is good, or, there's so many quote unquote good ideas, but is there a market for that good idea? That's a good point. So you're saying almost kind of turning it backwards and looking for the good market first before you decide to write the book. So it might be a good idea for a book, but there's no market for it. So I like that. So that's a good idea. And, when it comes to, so now we're talking about AI publishing in terms of this piece. So you have a market, you've identified a market. How do you then take the AI in the way that you do it? What's your process to figure out, okay, let me now curate this book around this market? Like, what do you do?
I love that. So firstly, imagine you're kind of like a spy. right? You're a secret agent spy to make it a bit more
James
fun.
Bond.
James Bond, that's right, Black James Bond. For those who are listening, I'm a young Black
Love
African
it.
man. You might be able to tell from the accent and voice. However, imagine you're James Bond, right? And you go out spying to figure out where's the demand, where are the people right now, and are there lots of these people, these, your competitors? Are there lots of these competitors making a good amount of money from their books? If I realize, okay,
Hmm.
there's one competitor and he's making $1,000 each month from this book, and he's selling a few copies or a few hundred copies each month, okay, that's okay, but it could be a fluke. If I see two of them making $1,000 each month from this book, that's a bit more.
That's validation. Yeah.
If I see three, there's more validation. If I see five, there's a pattern there. So what you're looking for as a spy, as a secret agent, is to do your investigation. And there's a platform called KD Spy. Now this will tell you the data in terms of how many copies on average a book is selling.
Mm.
Right? So you can go onto page one of Amazon, type in a keyword, let's say leadership for men, right? And then you click onto KD Spy. It will bring up all of the books in a column in an Excel sheet. It will tell you how much they're selling for, how much they're making on average each month, and how many copies they're selling. So what do? We look and investigate. Are there five or more book making, let's say, $1,000 or over? Then based on that, from that point on, I know it's validated. The next step that I would do is I would look even further into those individual books that are getting, 1,000 sales per month. I would look at the bad reviews, so the 1 to 2 star reviews that are just awful. Sorry, the 2 to 3 star that are not just dead right awful, son of a
Right.
bad day, giving a crappy review. I'll scrape all of that data. I would also do that for all the 5 star reviews. I'll collect that information, feed it to ChatGPT, and say, hey, I want to make a book on leadership for men. Based on all of these based on all of these positive reviews and negative reviews, please fill in the gap and create me a productive outline.
Got it. That makes
That'll be your
sense.
next step in terms of that process.
So it's taking the good and the bad and taking it into account so that you avoid that. And that's a smart move. And so you're not really saying, I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but it doesn't sound like you're saying be original. It sounds like you're saying what works out there, duplicate it, make it better, make the mousetrap better, and that's it. I mean, I was thinking more along the lines of, like, again, coming up with a good, unique value proposition for a book, finding the market for it, or finding the market first, then coming up with it, and then doing. But no, it sounds like you're saying find the top books that are selling and just basically copy it, but make it your own in your own words and your own,
Correct.
thoughts, your own experiences. Okay, well, hey, that's fine. So I want to go back to the sales piece because we don't have a lot of time left, and that's the most important part to me, at least as a book author who's published probably 5 books over the past 20 years, some successful, some not. How do you sell these things, man? How do you sell 1 million copies of a book? Because it is a competitive market, and only the top 1% of the book people out there that are making money are the James Pattersons and the Anne Rices and the Nora Ephron or whoever. All those big payday people, they're like 1% of the market. Everybody else struggles to sell even 1,000 copies. How do you sell them?
Well, you said it right there. Everyone else struggles to sell tons of copies. 95 or 99% of publishers and authors are basically broke. They don't make much money from their book. Do you have a guess why, Jason?
Have a guess what? Jeez, because there's just too many books. They don't know how to market it. They're not a name in the industry, so no one knows who they are.
Because they did every podcast as big as Hurdles. They didn't validate their idea. There wasn't a market necessarily there for them. So if you create something on false premise, it's very hard for that to gain traction. You can't trick people into wanting something. Once you find out you have a book idea, you validate it, you see that's actually viable, then you can confidently invest in that book knowing where you're going to end up. If there's no market for it, you can still go for it. There are practical things you can do. Get on tons of podcasts. Get yourself sponsored on newsletters. Start running Amazon ads, right? Target your competitors' books. Create an amazing cover. Work on your actual show title, right? But again, these are two separate avatars. Most people who are publishing books and authoring books are doing it because they might, if they want to get their message out there, that's great. That's awesome. Again, do all these things I mentioned, podcasts, all those kinds of things. That's great. However, you're kind of fighting against the market. You're trying to force people to buy what you have. Whereas when you use a process that's validated, that's confirmed, that also has your own twist. Don't just copy and paste because what the hell is the point in that? Make it a bit fun for yourself. So I want to make that very clear. I'm not saying copy and paste,
Right,
but
right,
I'm
right.
saying look at the market and save yourself blood, sweat, and thousands of dollars and the mental fortitude and then start investing along the way. Then start making a book and creating it based on demand that's there because you're no longer trying to generate demand.
Right.
You're just
It's already
capturing
there.
demand.
That's
You're
smart.
capturing that demand.
I
You're
love
placing
it.
yourself in the right way.
And we're out of time. So let everyone know where they can find out more about you and your services.
Awesome. So look, if you're a podcaster yourself, check out Why Your Podcast Isn't Growing. I share kind of up-to-date strategies that we're helping. I share up-to-date tactics and strategies that we're using to help our clients in real time grow their podcast and monetize their show through either books or coaching and whatnot. So while your podcast isn't growing is the best place to reach me or getmorelisteners.com. And that's really just to get a bit of insight in terms of the specific breakdowns of how we help clients grow and monetize.
Love it. Thanks, Anthony. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode and learned something. And I'll see you guys in the next episode.